Okay, this is going to be a Fieldcraft video, and I'm going to cover something that I don't normally cover much. And I had mentioned at the start of the war in Ukraine that it would be good fodder for doing videos on, and I decided I'm going to start tossing in some videos on mechanized operations, something that I'm very knowledgeable on. I have some knowledge on light stuff, but most of my knowledge is over on the mechanized side. And I decided that this is a good time to debut the new USGI U.S. Army Surplus Terrain Model Kit. This was actually a kit from the 1950s that I was able to do some horse trading for, over the past few months. I and Combat Cameraman are going through doing some repairs and that stuff on it little by little. Now, what are we going to cover inside the video here today? We are going to cover movement to contact by an infantry company team. In particular, this is going to be spearhead operations. This is the very front company leading friendly forces into enemy territory. The Spearhead Battalion, in particular the Spearhead Company, will always get more support than any other company in that brigade. Now, in particular, we are going to be simulating spearhead operations in close terrain. Now, close terrain can be mountains, hills, forests, or cities. But in this one, we're going to be simulating, we're moving through forested type terrain. Types of things that you would potentially see in Ukraine, especially northern Ukraine. Now, our company team here is an infantry company team. The assets that they will have available to them inside our scenario here is 2 infantry platoons that together between them have a total of 8 Bradley fighting vehicles and 6 infantry squads. It's kind of weird when you look up the organization. They have 4 vehicles in an infantry platoon, 3 squads spread out over 4 vehicles. Hey, whatever, I ain't gonna judge. We also have 1 platoon of armor, which is going to be 4 M1 Abrams. How this infantry company got it? They trade 1 infantry platoon with an armored company for 1 armor platoon. You swap it back and forth. That's typically how you did combined arms operations. Now, supporting this infantry company, we also have 1 engineer platoon. This engineer platoon for this video is going to be going off the TOE from early in the war, in the global war on terrorism. They're going to have 4 M113s with 3 squads and 2 Mikliks. We also have some assets sent down by battalion and brigade to support them since they are spearhead operation. We have 2 air defense vehicles. These can be considered to be either 2 Bradley linebackers or 1 Bradley linebacker and 1 Avenger. We also have detached from battalion, attached to this company team, 1 or 2 self-propelled mortars. Now we're going to go from the rear platoon to the front platoon, the very edge of the spearhead. And we'll go through on how, especially that front platoon or front 2 platoons does things. Oh, I do want to say here first, I want to thank Combat Cameraman for supplying all the vehicles and stuff for this. Thank you, Combat Camera Guy, for assisting with this video so we didn't have to sit through another boring whiteboard drawing. All right, let's go back to our rear platoon in our company team. This is our reserve. So back here we have 4 Bradley fighting vehicles. We have one engineer squad, and this is going to be the squad that does not have the MICLIC. And we got back here to cover the rear of the company, our missile air defense. So this would be where our Avenger would be because they're not armored. Or potentially our 2nd Bradley linebacker. Turrets on all the vehicles, including on the APC, are always going to be herringbone to the sides to cover the sides, because you never know, there could be people hidden in the forests on the sides. I don't have enough forest pieces to go along my entire column here. But imagine we got forest on this side, forest on this side. Now next up, ahead of our reserve platoon, we're going to have our company headquarters. In our company headquarters here, we have our company commander. Right behind him will be the engineer platoon leader inside his APC. Potentially there might be another vehicle here between the APC and the XO, an actual headquarters vehicle for the infantry company. I'm not entirely certain on that, but I believe their company headquarters specifically would be traveling with their combat trains in the rear. We got our XO here. And then right behind him will be our 1 or 2 self-propelled mortars. More than likely for this operation, they'll be 120 millimeter. That'll be what they're loaded in there, so they get the biggest bang for the buck. Now, up ahead of the company headquarters, we're going to have, our 2nd platoon from the front. That's going to be mixed infantry and armor. We got 1 M1 Abrams in the lead. We got infantry squad at the rear of this platoon element. We have our air defense, a Bradley linebacker, who's going to be scanning all the way around, listening to his air defense nets about red air being in the area. And we will have 1 engineer APC with the MICLIC. In theory, we'll have about two infantry squads in there, or at least a squad and a half, and maybe they'll even some people out, make it close. Who knows? Now, the very leading edge, the very front platoon of this Spearhead operation is going to be the armor platoon. Those other platoons are going to be led by infantry officers. This one is armor heavy. It's going to be led by that armor platoon leader. We have 2 M1 Abrams, and then depending on how much room they have on the area that they're moving down, they will either be one right next to the other, just one slightly back, or they will be directly behind each other. It just depends on how congested it is, what's the conditions of the terrain. And if you remember when I've done the video on the anti-armor ambush, that lead M1 is going to be equipped with a mine roller. And potentially a second mine roller will be located with the tank in our 2nd platoon. We will have 2 Bradleys for a total of 2 infantry squads, or 1.5. Infantry are weird. Then we will have our engineer APC, 1 squad with MICLIC, and 1 M1 at the trail. As we all go down, there's clear communications with all the vehicles. They're going to be on their platoon nets. They're going to be monitoring their company nets, whatever they're ordered to listen to. Engineers are always monitoring the company nets, find out what's going on up ahead. Now, there will be support for this company. There will always be at least 1 artillery battery that will be in position to their rear to provide them indirect fire support when needed. And then the other batteries inside that field artillery battalion will be in movement to their next firing positions. They get set, then the one that was set, they move forward to their next firing position. You always maintain that cover to your front. And because this is spearhead operations, it's not that uncommon that you will have 2 helicopter gunships that will be flanking your spearhead also. Typically one on one side, one on the other side. They're getting a bird's eye view of what's up ahead. And if you had the capabilities, as we're seeing in Ukraine, and I got a feeling this is going to start appearing in certain TOEs soon, probably if you have company level UAVs, the little quadcopters with cameras, I would not doubt you're going to have them scanning to your fronts and your sides also, so that you get a good eyes on as to what's going on around you at all times. Your forward observer usually is going to be located with the lead platoon, potentially with that second platoon just a little bit farther back. But he's always going to be within eyes on so that he can see what's going on up ahead, and he can call for fire from that artillery battery that's in support at the time. As you're moving down, everyone's monitoring everything that's going on around you at all times. How fast do you go? You go as fast as you need to. You're not going to go balls to the walls because you could end up missing something, but you're not going to go so slow that a tortoise walking next to you will outpace your vehicles. It's kind of iffy. Yeah. You're all over the place. Sometimes you'll speed up, sometimes you'll slow down. And sometimes your company commander may swap out the 2 lead platoons for one reason or another. Now, for getting up in operations here, something that I've seen happen quite a bit in Ukraine, and I know the Ukrainians were capitalizing on this for attacking the leading Russian forces. You had crossroads going on here. We got our main road that we're traveling on here. We got crossroads going over here. Your enemy will probably put an ambush in on this crossroad. Well, how can they do that? One thing could be they'll have armor hidden off in the sides. Could be hidden in a tree line on the side over here, or butted right up against the trees over here. They also have infantry spread out in the trees here and over here. What they're going to try to do, they're going to try to catch your tanks coming out in the open. Now, as these 2 tanks would come out into the open, I'll mention this. This one will rotate his turret like so as he's coming around. This one will rotate his turret like so as they're coming around. And then when the area is clear, they will move it back forward for moving forward on. But what should you do? You come up to a crossroads like this in close terrain. Well, what you need to do, you got 2 infantry squads here. You need to dismount an infantry squad to one side, infantry squad to the other side. Have these guys slow up, maybe even stop while the infantry is deploying. And you're going to have that one infantry squad is going to be crossing through the trees over here to see what's up ahead and what's on the side. You have another infantry squad that's going to be doing the same over here. They will radio back what's going on. So these guys might stop back, say 50 meters, maybe 100 meters, maybe more. It is the call of that armor platoon leader at that forward platoon. Infantry goes forward, reports what they see. These guys will see a tank here, so they'll report back, hey, we got a T-64 right at the intersection on our right flank. Platoon leader will tell them, engage. Or maybe they'll say, provide a marker with smoke so that my tank that's over here can turn his gun and shoot through the trees. Yes, I have seen arrogance like that. It'd be a lot easier for the infantry up here to just take it out as long as they haven't been seen. Take it out with an AT-4 or whatever they have available to them. But if they get up here and they see there's nothing, no one is here, they will call that back. This leading platoon will creep forward to the edge. Take up position there. Then you'll have one platoon advance across the road. Remember, crossing danger area battle drill. And they will clear the trees on this side. The other platoon will also cross this side. You'll assault across. Check, make sure there's no anti-armor ambushes in here. Maybe an anti-tank gun. An anti-tank vehicle equipped with some type of missile system hidden in there. Who knows? Once you have this is clear, vehicles continue forward. The Bradleys move up. And then those squads remount into their Bradleys, and then you continue on. Now, what if our next little change in the scenario here, we're moving forward. Our gunship or UAV notices there's an obstacle up here. So what do? First off, the engineers need to find out what type of obstacle is it. Do we see mines there? Do we see wire? Do we see a log crib? Is there just a roadblock there? What particular is blocking that road, that intersection? And we need to know, can we bypass to the sides? The primary thing you always do in mechanized operations is bypass. Why? Because it's quicker. It takes up a lot of time to breach and clear an obstacle to allow for passage. If there is no bypass, then we go into the clearance drills appropriate for that type of obstacle. Let's say we get up here and the mine roller hit a mine, set it off. As soon as that explosion goes off, everybody stops. Now at that point, the call goes back, hey, there's mines up ahead. So typically what the engineers will do, they will dismount a team, or one fire team at least, with 2 mine detectors. They will then go up and start scanning ahead, locating mines. And they're going to find out how many mines are up there. If they go 25, 50 meters and they're still finding mines, okay, just go into doing a MICLIC. If they go through, they clear 25, 50 meters, they only find 1 or 2 or 4 or 6 mines, they'll just go through, clear off the tops of those mines as best they can, put down surface laid charges, clear those mines, go back, recheck the area. The mine roller will move to the front, and everyone will go ducks in a row through the obstacle. Now, if we end up with a large, long minefield going down this road, it's going to take too long to clear it by hand. So that's where you got your MICLIC with your lead engineer squad. So what ends up happening, the vehicles will move over as best they can. Make sure to turn their turrets. The engineer squad will move forward, get their standoff from the obstacle. It's very common that these guys will back up and congest a bit. except the lead tank. He'll back off a little bit, but not too far. He'll get online with the APC. The engineers will fire the MICLIC. They get the clearance. They set the MICLIC off. It goes off. That M1 with the mine roller will then proof the lane going through it. The engineer squad will also move through. When they get to the other side, it is not uncommon that as soon as you get to a spot that will allow for it, your engineer squad with the next MICLIC in your second platoon, which is back here, they will move forward and take up a position replacing this engineer squad, so that you always have a MICLIC in that lead platoon. MICLIC is a mine clearing line charge. Now what if we get up here and all we have is a wire obstacle? Very simple. The engineers will not pull forward. They do not need to. You will have the infantry clearing on the sides, making sure everything's okay. We will then start putting in the conditions for support for SOSR. S-O-S-R. Suppress, obscure, secure, reduce. We have the suppress and the securing already going on. We had the M1s in the front, the infantry up here also. They're securing, suppressing any potential enemy fires. Obscuration, we can do that with smoke grenades. We can do it with smoke pots. Or we can call back to the mortars, back with the company team, with the company headquarters. Launch a couple smoke rounds up ahead if we think it's needed. Engineers will come up, dismounted, and they will do the wire breach battle drill. Yeah, damn, dinner. Once that obstacle is cleared, the Bangalores go off. The engineers will go through, sweep the other side, make sure everything's good. They will pull as much of the obstacle to the side as they can to clear it out of the way, and then the company team moves on. If we end up in that bad of a situation where we come into a major, this is the next scenario on this, a major enemy strong point up here, well, at that point, the lead platoon will do the best they can. The infantry will support the best they can. Forward observer will call for either mortar fire or artillery or both. You could potentially have a forward air controller, a FAC team with you. They could call in for A-10s or whatever type of support aircraft you have. Your gunships will come in, provide support also. They get called in by the FAC also. You clear that enemy position up front, take them out. The lead platoon will either get orders told to continue ahead, and the second platoon in line will come up, take care of prisoners, or whatever the company team commander comes up with for how to handle the situation. Locate your enemy. Place accurate fires on them before they put accurate fires on you. But when you're in close terrain like this, they're going to have very good observation on that route. And they're going to have it all plotted out, knowing where you are. Fully expect, as soon as your lead vehicles get up into that kill zone, you're going to have indirect fire dropping behind you. And because you're in close terrain, you're not going to be able to move to the sides very easily to get out of that impact area. Your lead platoon for sure should be buttoned up. It was very common with engineers. We'd open up the troop hatch up on top, have a couple people up there scanning the sides as we're moving on. But if you're in that lead platoon, you want that troop hatch closed. You want your vehicle sealed up as much as possible to protect against indirect fires and also direct fires. Your enemy can open up on the side with a machine gun at point blank range, just start spraying stuff. You don't want rounds bouncing into your vehicle. Clear as mud. I'll tell you right now, if you look this up in the manual, and I did this morning just to see what their recommendations were, the U.S. Army has gone back in time. I mean, way back in time. They forgot the lessons from late in the Cold War, where we would have mixed platoons like this in a company team as we're moving forward. Doctrinally, they'll say solid armor platoon in front, solid infantry platoon, solid infantry platoon. Forget about the engineers, forget about your air defense. That's what we got fighters for. But this is really how it should be done. And this isn't too much different than how I used to do it back when I was a private, getting taught on how to do mechanized operations. I'll throw this in here. I did a rotation down at JRTC mid to late 90s, and the engineer platoon, we had assets attached to us, especially the squad that would be towards the front of the column in the company team. We had two teams attached to us, one from the infantry. It was a Dragon anti-tank missile team. We located that with our rearmost squad, and we had a Stinger missile team that was located with either the squad right up in front or the squad in the second platoon, but usually it was going to be with the squad right up in front, so that each individual platoon had its own little air defense for just in case an enemy Hind gunship or helicopter gunship should happen to pop up out of nowhere and try to cause us real havoc as we're ducks in a row in stride congested terrain. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and militia movements, always remember SAONs.